to it?
Well, there's gotta be some kind of, that's what we're trying to find out. But we have to talk to somebody else. There's not a whole lot of them out there, and we just had somebody there. I don't see.
I started looking at it.
Yeah, I drove by the day after a heavy rain that was like
No.
shooting out of where the curb met the street line.
Right, up down there.
Sorry.
It's okay.
40 years worth of.
Interesting.
Call the town council meeting to order for Tuesday, December 18th, 2018, at 7:11 PM. We'll start first with salute to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Duty.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni.
Here.
Counselor Candelora.
Here.
Counselor Diamond.
Here.
Counselor Foreman.
Here.
Counselor Miller.
Here.
Counselor Rose.
Here.
Counselor Viglione. Counselor Zampano.
Motion to approve the December 4th, 2018 Water Pollution Control Authority and Town Council meeting.
So moved. Second.
Any corrections? Seeing none. Roll call.
Mayor Duty.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni.
Yes.
Counselor Candelora.
Yes.
Counselor Diamond.
Yes.
Counselor Foreman.
Yes.
Counselor Miller.
Yes.
Counselor Rose.
Yes.
Moving to the regular town council meeting, reports of committees, boards, and commissions. Economic Development Commission,
There was no meeting since our last council meeting.
Park and Recreation,
There was no meeting since the last one, and the December one is canceled due to the holidays.
Police Commission,
Police Commission met on December 10th. They're still working on revising many of their policies. They've developed a policy on facial hair. They voted to appoint Victor Pediandri and Dave Palumbo to the Permanent Project Building Committee for the police facility. They are making progress in hiring a new chief. They'll probably be starting their interviews based on the candidates they've received from South Central. They'll probably start interviewing candidates in January. They also approved the purchase of a second vehicle, and I think that's in your packet, and we'll probably discuss that later on. Next meeting is January 15th.
okay, Fire Commission, from the minutes of the Fire Commission, brush tree is back in service. Generator project is being worked on at company number 1. There, I guess the officers from each company are working on leases for the firehouses to be presented to the town. And I guess that's about it. Did we miss anything, Anthony?
I wasn't.
Okay, I guess we didn't. Board of Education and Town Council's Communications Subcommittee,
No meeting.
Town Planning Goals Subcommittee,
No meeting,
Public Safety Communications Committee.
no meeting.
Planning and Zoning Commission,
Planning and Zoning voted to approve the application for the brewery house on Forest Road.
East Shore Health District Department. Moving to the Town Manager's Report, progress report on personnel rules and regulations of the merit system.
Yes, I put together an outline to put together a memo just to indicate that it's a work in progress, and I have a draft of the violence and workplace prevention policy for your review, anti-harassment policy, and the affirmative action policy statement as three that are ready. Well, I'd say it's in draft form. I just wanted to have enough time for you to take a look at it before we put it on the agenda for action. And also, just to think, it begs the question that from my review, the council, Labor Council has reviewed it, did a lot of modifications to that to bring it up to current language, so to speak, from what we had. So those are probably the first three we could take a look at. I'm also developing a internet policy as well. FMLA, also, as you can see, I copied you on the very old document that we've been using. FMLA wasn't even mentioned, it existed at that point. So that's got to be worked in, and it was in that conversation of talking with the labor attorneys about their recommendations with respect to how far we're going to go in this revamp of this document. So I think it would be important, I think helpful, if I invited them to the next meeting in January to just kind of go through the finer legal points of what we're trying to do, especially with affirmative action, and let's just say the difference between an affirmative action program versus an affirmative action policy. Quite a bit of difference. So I think it's some labor nuances there that would be helpful to have Courtney George or David Zabel walk us through that. But I wanted to give you a flavor and a start on taking a look at some of these drafts, and then I think for January's meeting, bring them in so that we have a course of so we understand we're on the same page, and a course of action to revamp this document, to have a manual, policy and procedures, manual that we can say is updated and is functional. The document mentions a personnel board or personnel commission that hasn't met since, I don't know, the 90s. So things like that we've got to, I've got to spend a little bit more time, in-depth time, to plan and map out, if you will. So,
Thank you.
I don't know if there are any questions at this point, but I'm certainly available if you see something or spot something within those drafts. Please let me know.
An update on bid award RFP 6, 2018-2019 security cameras for Stanley T. Williams and TVES.
Yeah, that's more of an FYI that I'm going to bring that back. We had a glitch and a problem with that award, the council award, as you know, the last meeting. When we went into the award for the warranty, there is no company that, or the company that we awarded to came back to us and said they can't get bonded and a warranty past 2 years. So we met with Board of Ed side and talked and discussed it with them. They'd rather collapse the bid and rebid it, because there was in the process one of the companies that didn't bid because they said they knew they couldn't get anything beyond 2 years and didn't bid. So they want to collapse it. So it's going to come back. It's not an award, and it's going to come back. They're going to redo it, repackage it, send it out, and get it right and bring it back.
So you're going to do the 2-year warranty then?
Well, no, they wanted to go. They wanted to go, I think, to a 4 or 5 year on that system. And so none of the companies, or at least the company that was awarded, can't get anything past 2, and we wrote it that way. So we've got to do a rewrite and repackage and send it back out.
So do we have to do anything in regards to the motion that we made to, cancel that?
It's just not,
Yeah, it's just not being
not being
awarded.
It's not being awarded.
Well, I thought we awarded it in that motion at the last meeting. We awarded it to that company at a
Yeah.
certain price,
Right. And I think
and did because the town was paying the bulk of it and the Board of Ed was paying the remainder because it was over the amount that we had allotted.
Right.
So we did award it.
yeah, and I think it's based on the fact that they're deficient in, we basically awarded on the spec that said that they were going to do,
So that-
beyond 2 years, so it makes
So that
it.
cancels it out?
You
I just,
provided the authority to proceed.
oh, okay.
All right, but the town manager, based upon what he just articulated, said there are deficiencies.
Oh, okay.
So
All
we're
right.
not gonna proceed. So I don't think an affirmative action is absolutely necessary. The matter will collapse and then come back to you on
Okay.
review.
And I just also wanted to mention that in your folders, you should also have copies of the Planning Conservation Development Survey results and data Carrie had provided from Malone McBroom, the consultant. A lot of information in those packets. And I think we also gave you some picture updates of the work that Fran at Public Works had done with Tilcon over on Twin Lakes Road. So I think those are in your folders as well.
Thank you. And next is community events and presentations, proclamation for Dudley and Vicki Harrison on donation of 21.5 acre family preserve.
Mayor Duty, I'm asking that we hold off on this proclamation until such time as Dudley and Vicki Harrison can be here to receive the proclamation.
Okay, we notified them and we got a call, and Mike got the call that
Yeah.
due to the cold weather. and-
Yeah, they're not feeling well in the cold weather as well. I mean, a combination that I'm very pleased and touched that the council was doing this, and sorry they couldn't attend, and I offered, to hand deliver the proclamation. They were fine with that, but I understand if the council wants to defer, that's okay.
So we
Fine,
could,
that's fine.
hold off till warmer weather or spring or whatever.
I think that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Or maybe ask them,
Then
would be a
have a
good
form,
time
yeah.
for them, maybe.
When it gets a little warmer, we can reach out and see how their availability.
Well, they probably want to be called, since they've been told that they were going to receive this proclamation. Maybe you make a phone call and tell them we deferred, if that's what we choose to do, until they could be here, unless they choose not to be here at any time,
Right.
in which case we do it like in the next meeting.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Give them the option, I think, and make them aware that we're prepared to act on it, but didn't, only because we'd like them to be here if they could.
Sure. Absolutely, I can do that.
Okay. All right, next, citizen statements and petitions, correspondence. See none, moving to resignations and appointments. Reappointment of Victor P. Andrea, Republic, to the Police Commission, term to expire 12/31/2021.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mayor Duty.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni.
Yes.
Counselor Candelora.
Yes.
Counselor Diamond.
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin.
Yes.
Counselor Miller.
Yes.
Counselor Rose.
Yes.
Next is appointment of Richard L. Simmons to the
Don't we have
Police
to accept the
Commission.
resignation first? since
We
the
don't.
seat's open?
We don't have to accept resignations
The,
at all.
A while ago,
But
under
Lisa
the-
Valenti told us that.
under the
Right.
town attorney's,
We acknowledge it, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's simply
Yeah.
acknowledgement. Once it hits Lisa's desk, it's official.
To the Police Commission to replace Craig Miller, term to expire 12/31/2019.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, Mayor Duty, just as a point of form, we did get a email communication from a council member who is not present tonight, couldn't be here, and did ask a question regarding relationships, and if there's any, he requested that they be acknowledged. Otherwise, I have no questions.
And we checked into that. He's married to a second cousin, which I think is as much removed as you probably could get. Unless you want a family history tree or something, but,
No, I wanted to bring the question that was raised by the counselor.
yeah, and we checked into that.
Okay.
Everybody's related.
Yeah, there's a lot more people related closer than that. But, roll call?
Okay. Mayor Duty.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni.
Yes.
Counselor Candelora.
Yes.
Counselor Diamond.
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin.
Yes.
Counselor Miller.
Yes.
Counselor Rose.
Yes.
Next is reappointment of Dave Palumbo to the Police Commission, term to expire 12/31/2021.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mayor Duty,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Rose,
Yes.
Next is reappointment of Ed Pruner to the Board of Fire Commissioners, term to expire 12/1/2021.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mayor Duty,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Rose,
Yes.
Next is reappointment of Andrew Campion to the Board of Fire Commissioners, term to expire 12/1/2021.
So moved.
Second. Can I just ask a question for my own edification? Is there a distinction between I and you?
Unaffiliated and independent.
And the question still remains, what's the
I
difference?
think they count the same as in the minority.
It's.
You want to give a legal opinion?
I think it's a technicality. There is a legal distinction in that there is and I don't know anything about this individual or this individual's affiliation, but there is a recognized independent party. And then someone can register as a member of that
Okay.
independent party or as just an unaffiliated voter. So
All
that would
right,
be,
it's probably not worth wasting more time, but thank you.
but they're just not affiliated with a Republican or a Democrat.
Okay.
So they count as the minority.
It would be a minority party, correct.
Mayor Duty,
Roll call, yeah. Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Rose,
Yes.
Okay, next is reappointment of Chris Kranek to the Economic Development Commission, term to expire 12/31/2021.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mayor Duty,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Rose.
Yes.
And next is reappointment of Scott Small to the Economic Development Commission, term to expire 12/31/2021.
Mr. Mayor, if I could change that, it should be an appointment of Scott Small as a regular member of the Economic Development Commission, term to
Yeah,
expire
that's why I dropped the
Pardon?
alternate. That's-
No, but it would be an appointment, not a reappointment.
It would be an
'cause he's-
appointment.
Okay, yep.
Term
So
to
it's
expire-
appointment of Scott Small. That's your motion.
Yes.
Are you sure of that?
Yes.
Yes, because here's Lisa's latest
Okay.
list, and Scott Small has been attending the economic development because he thought he was the regular member, and it's the same position, it's the business community. So he was the alternate for the business community, and there's an opening as a regular member in the business community.
Got
So
it.
we're just appointing him in that position.
So we're appointing him as a regular member.
Yes.
Correct.
Thank you.
And that will open up the alternate then.
Okay.
Okay. Term to expire 12/31/2021.
So Marie made the motion and did some.
I made a motion and I don't know who seconded it.
I'll second it. I don't think anyone did,
Okay.
because
No,
you
I don't think anybody did. We started.
were talking
Rose
about it.
seconded it.
Mayor Duty,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Rose.
Yes.
And next is a reappointment of Virginia Fallon to the Library Board, term to expire 12/31/2021.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mayor Duty,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Abstain.
Counselor Rose.
Yes.
Next is reappointment of Mary Bigelow to the Greater New Haven Transit District, term to expire 12/31/2022.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mayor Duty,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Rose.
Yes.
Next is just to inform you that we have a resignation from Craig Miller from the Police Commission.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda to appoint to the Permanent Project Building Committee the 2 members from the police department for that project. And so they would, I would like to amend it so that we appoint Victor Pediandria and Dave Palumbo as special members for the police department renovation.
Second.
Want to do a joint or individual?
It can be joint because it says they serve until the completion of the project. And they just were reappointed for a 3-year term, so,
So that would
I-
be item K.
so that would be item K, right?
Okay, so you made the motion.
I made the motion to amend the agenda.
I second.
Everybody in favor? Roll call?
Mayor Duty,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Rose.
Yes.
I'll
Okay,
make a
that
motion to move, put Victor Pediandra and Dave Palumbo on the Permanent Project Building Committee for representing the police department.
I second it.
Discussion?
Yeah, so are they voting members?
Yes.
So these are voting members?
Right, just for the police
So the rest
department.
of them, like the bigger group, like Franny and whoever else we can sucker in to show up?
They would be ex officio, so they're not voting members, correct? Is that
Right.
the way that
Okay.
works? But they can be at the meeting, so they have their input. But
So then just,
those
you
2
know,
members along
we
with,
haven't voted, so I wanted to go on it too, so I don't know when that's gonna start, but.
We already suckered you in.
Yeah, but I don't think I've been appointed
Right,
by
so
you
we gotta probably
guys, I
amend
don't know
them
whether
at point.
I have to be appointed or not,
right,
too.
Yes.
So I don't-
So we could do this.
Should
Yeah,
happen sooner
you do
rather
it
than
now.
later.
yeah, we should just do it now. We'll just amend the agenda again.
No.
So we're voting on this
Make
one
another
now.
motion.
Yeah, well,
We're voting on this one.
So
Well,
we're
do
voting,
this motion,
And
then
then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
deal with the other people so we have a functioning committee.
All right,
right,
so we gotta vote.
Got it.
Yeah, that'll be L. So we're voting on this one now. Roll call?
Okay, Mayor Duty,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni,
yes.
Counselor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Rose.
Yes.
Okay,
So the town council representative
Yeah.
to
so,
the
so
permanent-
now we
like
have to
to-
make to amend the agenda.
Yeah.
So I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda for add item 7L, appointment of Al Rose as the town council representative to the Permanent Project Building Committee for the police department renovation.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mayor Duty,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Rose.
Abstain.
Just clarification, though, he's a regular member, not what you refer to as an ex officio.
Correct, he's a
Right,
voting
I'd be
member.
a voting
Okay.
member too, right?
Yes. So, Mike, the mayor would be an ex officio, and Mike Paulus is, and then if we have Franny in and the
they
police
can't
chief.
vote, they're
They
just-
can't vote, they can put in their input, they can discuss at the meetings and stuff, they just don't have a vote on items.
And the
All
others,
right.
you, just to clarify, the others that you just appointed, Victor and David and soon to be Al, as special members, as you said, have voting rights, but only specific to that project. Should, in the past, the Permanent Project Building Committee has had
Multiple projects.
And so they had to, separate those issues where they just vote on those issues for that specific project.
Right.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to appoint Counselor Al Rose as a voting representative.
We just, no, you don't have to,
You don't have to,
it's
What-
not an amended
All right,
agenda.
so we
You
just-
have, it's under L.
So we just,
so I'll make a motion to appoint Counselor Al Rose.
well, did we vote on the amendment?
Yeah,
Right,
Yes.
so now
Now you
it's
have
the
to-
actual motion.
the actual motion.
So I made a motion to appoint
So you need to second.
Counselor Al Rose as a voting member on the special PD station project only.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call?
Mayor Duty,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Rose,
Abstain.
All right, we'll move into unfinished business, discussion and action, update on North Branford Police Department building project.
Yeah, at the last meeting, the council had asked me to poll the members, which I did. All the regular members and alternates are interested in serving on the Permanent Project Building Commission. So, the only little glitch there is that I supplied you with the lineup there of the membership, and Mr. Bailey, term expired in 17, so just a footnote there for you.
Okay, so can you put him under appointments on the next, for the January meeting,
Absolutely.
to, just so that, then they're all appointed? Yep.
Mike, were we able to find out
According to
about
Mike's-
the architects, the geo plan versus, did they clarify that?
No, they haven't, and I think,
No.
depending on where the council wants to go, and
No,
that,
no,
if you
that's-
want to
that's- no,
think of a
that's the
meeting
sun. That's
in
not the
January
bar.
after the
Yeah,
holidays
this is-
maybe
this
you
is
want to do the
sun.
permanent
Yeah,
project
this is
first
sun.
by yourselves, and then invite the architects, but I
Or
think.
would
No,
they
no,
get
no,
a
no, no,
report
no.
to that
This
committee?
is the sun.
Yeah.
And then that committee would
Yeah.
report
Thanks.
to the
Yeah.
council maybe, to find out about the drawings that they're doing.
So since we're talking about this, did you get your answer or not? Remember that?
Not
Well,
yet, yeah, I
not
think
yet,
you invite
but
them.
I don't know, yeah, if it should go through the committee, you guys discuss it, and then, as far as what the
When you
actual
look at
plan-
the plan of development, getting to the point that I raised at the last meeting, there were, so Carrie had told me that, if the question came up of developing a town campus in the so-called center of town, which is between North Branford and Northford, which is up there by the PD, if it came up that that was something that the people on the survey, put in that they'd like to see done, that was actually in that 50,000 that we've already spent with Milo and McBroom. So it's in the top three. So I almost think that we need to, because what I want to do is, I don't want to build a police station and put it somewhere up there. And you know what, I'll go long-term. In our next 50-year plan, we're gonna have a town center up there. We don't want to build the one new building in town that's right in the wrong spot. So maybe Carrie can have for the next meeting, whether we met the criteria, enough people asked for
Yeah,
the town center to be there so that they could look at it and come up with a future town campus up there or something, just on the map. That says, all right, building 1 goes here, building 2 goes here, building 3 goes here. There's a little town green with a very small gazebo.
Wasn't there a plan, by, what was it, Carl, the town manager at one time? I remember him showing the plan. Supposedly, no one could find it?
Well,
Yeah, I can't find it.
I know Mike.
I can remember him showing
Yeah.
it at a meeting.
Right.
And Anthony dug out, we traced back some of the financial transactions and found Pillar Pylon, and that's a school, that was a school study from 2002, 2003, but it's not Forest Road with any buildings or anything like that. So the one that everyone's referring to, in that same time frame, I'm told, and Anthony
Yeah.
said the same thing, I have yet to put my hands on it and find it.
That
We're
was-
still
that was-
gonna go through the
I
vault.
thought that was more of a recreational map.
Yeah, that's the one
Yeah,
I
that Victor-
remember.
Victor
It-
Seegan is what
For
we
that
have, yeah.
whole section was more a recreational.
That I never saw, I never saw a town campus.
But a good look at the building.
I distinctly remember seeing it.
Well, there was something that Frank Conley had, but that was further
No,
down.
this wasn't Frank
It
Kent,
was
this
in
was,
the early nineties, in-house, sort of showing where we thought the town hall would go.
This was 2002, I remember it.
I remember it was a big sheet of paper. It was, maybe it's folded up somewhere and you have to
Well,
look through that
we're-
whole
we're-
conference room.
Yeah, we're still looking in the vault, pulling things out.
Did you ask or mention to maybe the superintendent if he had any? The superintendent?
Yeah, well, that's how we tried
Yeah.
to backtrack through finance, but it ended up being their study
Yeah.
About
Why
schools.
don't you just give him a call? He's the head of the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority.
Oh, Carl, yeah,
Just ask him.
Yeah,
Sure.
I distinctly remember it, just like Murray, I did remember seeing it. But, I think it was 2002.
So anyway, it looks like, by looking at the plan of development, where we're in the top 3 suggestions by the people in town, that, you know, we may have some of their money going towards, you know, looking at that. But then at least Carrie can.
yeah, we met with them,
Find
yesterday morning, with Patrick, and he walked through the survey results and and going forward. And again, that's it, I think Carrie had put together, the meeting schedule for the first meeting, public meeting for the 29th. They recommend that we do a survey and potential workshop on that town plan concept. I don't think, well, they said that they wouldn't really necessarily be the right group in this process of a POCD to do this rendering or illustrations until after, and it could be them or it could be some other firm, until you get more of the public input and, you know, through a survey or workshop. And that was their response, rather than bake it into this or carve out funds to do something in addition to a workshop. Not to say, you know, again, they just thought it'd be a layer of more additional information and public input on the process before you actually put some sort of concept plan or rendering on a piece of paper.
Probably do need some fresh eyes to look at that and draw something up, where the building should go, how.
I mean,
how it should
there's a
go.
lot of land up there,
Oh,
and, you know, across the street, you could do, you know, you could do a building that was 2 stories on the front and 1 on the back where it's into the hill, so you could actually walk in at
You mean the old library
both
site?
levels.
The old library site?
So, no, I'm just saying that, but, you know, maybe that would be like better for a town hall or something. You know, the main thing I don't wanna do, because I've been part of it way too many times, I don't wanna do something that just completely stops trying to do something at the PD because we're looking at something else. I want to be perfectly clear, I'm not looking to kick the can down the road on this. You know, I'm not sure how the best spot was determined, it was on the baseball field. Maybe it is, but I'm not sure how or who got there.
Well, maybe we should, check with Silver and Petroselli, the building committee. Check with Silver and Petroselli and say, listen, we'll allocate, you know, some more funds if you could draw us a rendering of what a town campus should look like.
Yeah,
I mean, they certainly have the expertise.
sure they do.
um,
I agree.
To draw up
That's a good
something,
idea.
you know,
Okay, so we'll run it by them
It's
at
not
the
gonna cost that much money
first
to,
meeting.
you know,
Right.
to,
The money will save.
you know, yeah, and I think the money it'll save, like Anthony said, will certainly benefit the town.
We'll have a vision.
And then, you know, I mean, we could put it on the wall somewhere so we never need it again. But, you know, and it's our goal to work towards in years to go.
Okay, makes sense.
And then we do wanna, we certainly have to be careful of what we spend, glancing through that thing tonight. Did you see that we're like the oldest community in New Haven County?
Hmm.
And we're 6 percentage points older than the average Connecticut town?
Hmm.
So we're somehow we're becoming an elderly community, thanks to me and George.
Oh, I hate,
Including me.
you have no idea. There was,
So, I mean, you know, that was, and then, you know,
Let me
I
just-
just glanced
let me
through
just
that,
tell
I
you.
saw that, and the other thing that jumped out at me was from 2010 to 2018, our school numbers dropped by 27%.
Yeah.
That's a quarter.
Hey, look at Wallingford's in serious trouble, you
Yeah.
know.
There was a
So we do have to
newspaper
be
article
very,
yesterday on a tragedy that happened in an adjacent town. And the tragedy affected an elderly gentleman. And in reading it, I discovered elderly was 70.
oh, good, then I'm not there
And you
yet.
talk about, So, just so you know.
Get all your traveling in now, George.
Yeah, so long as they have mobility availability. Yeah.
So, like reviewing this, and I think, George, you might have brought it up the last meeting or so. Have we come up with a budget, you know, for what we wanna spend?
That's what we're
Or,
trying to
uh,
come
What,
up
for
with.
total renovation in building?
Well, yeah, I mean, for,
We haven't, because we approved the schematics so that we can get it can be costed out better, and then we can
and I
have,
have a better idea.
well, then we can have a public information meeting
Mhm.
to present all of the data. So that has not been
Yeah,
decided.
That's why it's going to the building committee to figure out
Right.
first floor, second floor, third floor,
Where,
Right.
where, you know, the least
Okay.
disturbance of, you know,
Yeah.
so. The
Got it.
building committee's got certain questions to
Sure.
present to the architect, and the architect has the ability to come up. I mean, Al brought up some really good points as to whether, you know,
I like the idea.
second floor, it's a lot cheaper to build than to go wide, you
Right.
know, so.
And I like the idea of having them maybe draw that schematic
Yeah.
of the town.
And then we have something permanent, you know,
Yeah,
that's.
Absolutely,
Something we can follow.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, what would the council's, I mean,
Yeah.
$55,000.
would you,
Because
now
he
that you've
wants
made
one
the
that's something a little
appointments
different.
and the
I
project
was
building
thinking the
committee
same
is active to re-engage them and set a date for,
I would set a date for-
January?
For a meeting
Yeah.
with the,
And do you want, just the permit project with the special members and ex officio alone? Or do you wanna bring in Silver Petroselli right away and get going?
I would bring them in right away. and get
yeah, I think we
Yeah.
can come in.
Yeah, okay. So,
Our other two members agree with that? We'll start right with them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna ask Mr. Mayor if you could actually have, and the council will agree to have Victor and I, if Mike Walsh can keep us in the loop on emails on all of it, whether we're having discussions here or at our committee meetings, if you could just keep us in the loop, Mike.
sure. Absolutely.
I agree,
Yeah,
we
I've got-
should start right off on the get-go with them,
No.
Because we did it.
I just don't recall what date they had typically, met. Was that
I think
was it
it's,
a Monday? Was that a?
Permanent project building?
Yeah.
but I think it's up to the committee, because
Al-
it doesn't say anything.
Al,
in-
you were on the
Yeah,
permanent
right.
project building committee.
I would, they were Monday nights, actually.
They were, yeah.
I think they were Monday
They
nights.
Monday?
I think, see if,
Okay, well, let me
see if that works for them.
Cole, yeah, let me talk to the members about reactivating and with this project and ask what, you know, what day and then pick a date and then get back to the council and special members and figure out a date after the new year.
Great.
Thank you.
think it's longer.
All right, next is response from planning and zoning on the 824 referral regarding proposed drainage easement for 190 Totoga Road.
Included in your packet, there's a favorable report back from Planning and Zoning Commission regarding the proposed drainage easement over 190 Tucket Road. There's also a suggested motion to accept the drainage easement over the property included in the packet.
Where are we here?
Thank you.
Easements.
I'd like to make a motion that the town council accepts the proposed drainage easement to the town of North Branford over property known as 190 Totucket Road in accordance with the provided drainage easement and drainage easement map, meeting the final approval of the town attorney.
Second.
Discussion?
Well, there's an easement, or proposed easement in our package. Have you seen that then?
I have. I've compared it against the map.
Okay.
Yes, George seconded
Yeah.
the motion.
Roll call?
Mayor Duty,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Rose.
Yes.
Next item is response from planning and zoning on 824 referral regarding capital improvement plan 2018-2019 through 2023-2024.
This is the final step in the CIP process. If you recall last meeting, you sent the plan over to P&Z for an 824 referral. Again, the favorable report is in your packet, and this motion just finalizes it for the 18-19 year. Again, it's the only year that really counts. The other years are subject to council discussion and further action.
I'd like to make a motion, be it hereby resolved that the North Branford Town Council adopts the 2018-19 through 2023-24 capital improvement plan pursuant to the favorable review by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mayor Duty,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond.
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Rose.
Yes.
The next item is review of proposed road ordinance and possible public hearing date.
Mr. Mayor, last meeting, there was questions about what steps, if any, the town could take to try to address the damage to the sidewalks concern that was raised by one of the council members. And since the last meeting, what I'm going to pass out is a copy of an ordinance from the town of Ridgefield as an example, and a copy of the relevant section of Connecticut General Statute 7-148, which is the General Municipal Police Powers statute. And under the Police Power Statute, the municipality does have the authority to, and this is under section C, which is highways and sidewalks, and refer you to subsection V, Roman numeral V, require owners or occupants of land adjacent to any sidewalk or public work to remove snow, ice, sleet, debris, or any other obstruction therefrom, provide penalties upon their failure to do so, and cause such snow, ice, sleet, debris, or other obstruction to be removed, and make the cost of such removal a lien on such property. The word obstruction is really the focal point here, for purposes of if the sidewalk is damaged and therefore, or it could even be if a tree caused the heaving of a section of a sidewalk, by the adoption of an ordinance similar to what the town of Ridgefield adopted, you could put the obligation to keep the maintenance and repair of that sidewalk on the property owner rather than on the town. much like a snow and ice ordinance where you would be shifting the liability from the municipality to the homeowner for failure to remove the snow and ice. And that's something that, you know, is good practice to have to help limit the liability of the municipality. So one way of addressing the concern of when a property owner is conducting a work on their property and there's a concern that the sidewalk may become damaged because some contractor has driven over a curb and a sidewalk causing damage to the sidewalk, if it's the homeowner's obligation to maintain, then it's, you know, you can compel them to maintain, and if they fail to take corrective steps, the town can come in, make the repairs, and then lien the property. And you have that authority under 7-148. The other thing, I was talking with the town engineer earlier and about talking with the building official and adding a additional line on the permit process, asking whether or not there's a sidewalk located in front of the subject parcel. So this way the building official is put on notice at the time of issuance of a permit that there's a sidewalk there without obligating the building official from actually going out and doing that inspection up front. Because I think what you'll hear in a response to, if you were to ask him to do that, is he doesn't have the administrative time to go out and look at all these properties for all these permits that he may issue through in any given week. So if you put the obligation on the applicant to state whether or not there's a sidewalk, it'll limit the obligation of the building official on the number of permits that he has to actually treat this as a matter of concern. So there's a number of different things that we can do. One is just an administrative step that we can discuss with the building official. The other is employing or adopting an actual ordinance to address the issue similar to the one I presented to you from Ridgefield. And what I was going to do is discuss it with the town engineer tomorrow. There is, to see whether or not it's actually something we can simply fold into the existing ordinance, or the proposed ordinance that we're talking about, or whether it should be standalone. There is a provision in the charter that provides that all ordinances and resolutions shall be confined to one subject, which shall be clearly stated in the title. My concern is that this sidewalk and street opening ordinance is kind of very cumbersome and large, and if this gets lost in there, then it might be more challenging for a homeowner to find it. If it's standalone, similar to something basic like what was in Ridgefield, then it stands on its own in a title, and therefore it's easier to be identified rather than be lost in some subsection of a much larger ordinance. So I have to just analyze whether or not folding it into the original, the ordinance that we're discussing is something that would violate C4-4 of the charter, or even if it is something that we can do, whether or not it's better practice to make it standalone.
Would it be prudent to have a bond, like with a
You don't have,
construction?
there's no legal ability to require a bond. So we don't have the basis to, we can only require bonds to cover municipal improvements. So generally, those would come into play at the time of a subdivision approval. But this, we're talking about sidewalks that may have been in being for decades.
Yeah.
So you don't have that ability.
Yeah.
So if you fold it in and it goes through, it's essentially not searchable.
Well, it is, I'm not saying it will be searchable. I'm saying it'll be a subsection of a larger thing where someone may fall asleep before they get to the section that is this important section. It's kind of like saying, like in the practice of law, if we're going to get someone to waive their right to a jury, we want to put that in large letters and bold so it pops out, so because it's a significant waiver.
So this is something that's significant for the homeowner, and it would be suboptimal to do it otherwise.
In my opinion, it is significant because you're putting the obligation of maintenance on the homeowner, and that's something that should be out there and as transparent as possible, rather than hidden as a sublayer to a larger onion.
Sure.
That's just my opinion. If it's permissible under the charter, it still may make good sense to keep it separate, but that will be ultimately your decision, and I'll let you know when we get there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next is update on 944 Totoga Road remediation.
Yes, I've been working with town engineer on this. Town engineer has had communications with the property owner and had, I believe, earlier communications with the hired engineer, but not current communication with the hired engineer. The property needed to be walked by the engineer in order to determine what exactly needs to be done. In order to do that, the property needed to be mowed, was it brush hogged, I guess is the technical term. But for those of us who don't understand what brush hogging is, it's functionally mowing or mowing down of whatever is there. And that was done yesterday or today in part.
Yeah, and probably the engineer wanted it done so they can get a good grade. That was really between the property owner and the engineer. They did it, I think last Friday. They did, looks to me like they did enough to do what they have to do to shoot the grade. It was just the final thing, their engineer and the surveyor just had to say, yeah, that's enough. I get all the grades I need. I don't see that as being an issue. So I think, in my view here, there's no point for them, they're gonna go out there and do the grades and come up with a plan. What's the next thing? We're just trying to push it along, schedule-wise and task force.
All right, so last Wednesday, I, with the town manager and the town engineer, met with Mr. Potter to provide him with an update as to what has been going on and to establish a timeline to advance this to ensure that it is done in the coming calendar year. He has been very patient and gracious in setting a schedule, appreciating the need to be slightly flexible but not too flexible. And so what we're trying to do now is, and this was the first step in that timeline, is getting the property prepared so that the engineer can do his work, and then establishing a deadline for the submission to the Wetlands Commission of February 1st. That would give the engineer functionally 30 days to do his work, get the application prepared and filed. And then once that is done, then it will be in the Wetlands Commission, which would then be at least a 60-day process, because Wetlands accepts at their first meeting and then takes action at their second meeting. Again, we're at that point going to be subject to the administrative timeline that commission sets. I don't know whether or not they're going to determine whether or not there's a significant impact to wetlands and send it out for public hearing. So, I can't set a timeline with great definitiveness today because I don't know what the commission may determine when we get there. But, so as a general overlay, I said, I would expect that the Wetlands Commission would likely take, a 60-day window. It would then go to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the approval of the remediation plan. And then once those approvals, so that's, assuming 60 days for wetlands, I'm assuming one meeting for zoning. If after 90 days all the approvals are in place, then permits can be issued and the work can commence. With a February 1 timeline, I would expect February, March, April, by the April zoning meeting, assuming they voted affirmatively at that meeting, to have all the approvals in place, and then the work could be done toward the end of April, beginning of May. What we've also said is that what we will do, if any of these deadlines are not met, we will bring the issue back to this body so that you can decide whether or not you want to step in and take action, as we had discussed the town might decide to do. But until there's been a breach of the timeline, we're just going to try to keep the property owner to this timeline to get the work done at least started toward the end of the spring and then completed prior to the end of the summer. But what we had said to Mr. Potter is if the municipality comes into the equation with this, we may have to extend that timeline out because we may be subject to public bidding obligations if we were going to hire a third-party contractor to do the work or something like that. And if that's the case, that again was out of our control, but something that we would move forward as expeditiously as possible. So we had, if the town were to step in, we had said we would make our best efforts to have everything completed by Halloween is the outside date we had given them. So the work, the timeline that we established, more or less took into account additional time that might be required by the municipality if the municipality were to step into place. But we will continue to update you and let you know if there are any breaches of the timeline.
Thank you.
Before we move on, Mr. Mayor, I would just like to make a motion to amend the agenda. We generally have future budget initiatives under unfinished business, but I see it's not on this one, so I would like to make a motion to add 8F, future budget initiatives, so we can discuss an issue that was discussed at our last council meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, move into discussion.
So this is
Roll
just,
call.
Mayor Duty,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni,
yes.
Counselor Candelara,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond.
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Rose.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So the future budget initiative that we just amended the agenda to add it. So now it's there. So we're on item F. So the future budget initiative, and it came out briefly at the last council meeting under pension committee report, and it had to do with the multiplier for the fire department, which is still in the pension committee, had asked for some cost figures on that, but it's going to impact our budget. And so I'm gonna let Al take over from here because he
So
has some very specific.
Right, because I've spent a lot of time thinking about it. And so what I'd like to do is, for Michael to, what I'd like to see, if the rest of you agree, is, and I don't know if it's our actuary or who comes in, but I think that, our pension liabilities are something that the whole council should be looking at. I have complete faith in the pension committee, but I think that instead of us getting a little bitty, this is what they said and this is what we're looking to do, I think that the actuary should come in and I think they should explain to us, because I'm not sure, talking around town to different people, I'm not sure that we have a good understanding of how that fire department pension works. And so what I would like to see is a brief history on it, Michael. I would like to see where we started, how the multiplier has changed, what the current liability is going forward for the, and I'm gonna just throw it out there, I think it's somewhere around 140 members. And then what it is if the multiplier changes, if it goes up to what I guess was requested, what that liability is. But also, I think that when the town council, and I believe I was part of it when we did it first, but the multiplier was a lot smaller. We put a pension in place that town, state, federal government was all getting away from. And we did it for 140 members. And I think that, so I've done some research myself, but I'd like you to do that. I've, called around to some towns. They've left that sort of a pension. When we put ours in, the town of Madison left it and went to a, something similar to like a 401K. 401A. Or whatever it is. And believe me, if I was good with money, I still wouldn't be working 70, 80 hours a week. So But I do think we need to get a handle on this. Way too many people involved on something that, you know, maybe it's something as simple as putting a cap on it. But it keeps growing, the multiplier keeps changing, and I just feel that we need to have the actuary come in, lay it out in black and white, and also give us our options as to what do we do going forward. And, you know, do we change what we have, or do we go, all new members are changed, or something like that? So I just feel that we need to have a discussion on it. So if the rest of you agree with that, I don't think we have to vote on it. I think Michael just has to
Next meeting, or?
get to work. It's as soon as you can put it together.
Yeah, it may not be for the first meeting in
Right.
January. But I know at the pension committee meeting, they were gonna work on numbers at what the cost was to present at our next meeting, which is February. But, which the pension committee would refer it to the council anyway. They wouldn't take action on it without referring it to the council. But I agree with Al. I think the council needs to hear and have a little bit more background, because I know I wasn't on the council at the time that they instituted this, and I don't know the history on it, and I'm sure there's other members that don't know the history on it either. So I think it would be valuable information for us going into budget season.
Sure.
Frankly, I think it's more than valuable. I think it's critical. Our pension plan is, like many municipal and government pension plans, underfunded. And what we're being asked to do is, it's a pretty substantial increase in the benefit, which by comparison to other town departments might pale in terms of the benefit that the member gets. But still, when you do it by 140 members, it's a significant number. And I'm not sure where that actuarial computations are going to come in at, but I tend to think it's going to have a real impact on a pension plan that's already under some stress. So I think Al's suggestion is a good one.
I mean, as we found out at the last pension committee meeting, right now our pension, all of our pensions, we were probably around 53–54% funded in those areas. And so, which is not great, but it's not as bad as other towns. And we do contribute whatever the OPEB, you know, whatever they tell us we have to put into the pension, we do it 100%. But I think it's definitely something that we need to look at now.
I'm good with that.
Moving into new business, discussion and action, funding the second police vehicle, 2018-2019.
The police department initially asked for $121,000 in this year's capital plan for the replacement of 3 vehicles. At the manager level, it was reduced to $80,500, which is subsequently approved by the council. 1 vehicle was purchased at a cost of $48,756, leaving roughly $31,744 left in that police vehicle line. You'll see in the second page of the information, there's a quote that was received by Chief Lovelace for a 2019 Ford Expedition. And the purpose for the bigger vehicle is to tow things like the sign trailer and other things they need to have towed that the current vehicles cannot tow. So the question was, how do we fund that $55,000? And my proposal is to take four different pieces, if you will. The balance of the car money, which you gave them, roughly $31,700. There was money to replace some AEDs, wasn't completely spent, leaving a balance of $2,922. There was the speed trailer I just mentioned. Again, you guys approved at the prior meeting about $5,000 expenditure, leaving $13,200. And there's going to be a savings in the police department operating budget due to some personnel vacancies, leaving about a $7,000. So if you add those 4 pieces together, the balance of the vehicle account, $31,744, the balance of the AED account, $2,922, the balance of the speed trailer appropriation of $13,200, and then a general fund transfer from the police full-time line of $7,245. You come up with the $55,111. I did bounce this by Chief Lovelace, and he concurs this is the way to go. So it's before you for your action again, and the combination motion will also act as a transfer to move those numbers around to make the numbers work.
So were not all the AEDs purchased, or did we just get a good deal on them?
We got it was an interesting story. We had, brief story. We had our supplier who gave us a price of here, let's say initially, a guy we've dealt with for many years. This company that came in from Britain, they wanted to break into the American market. They came in with a price of here. I went back to our guy who dealt with, he came down at a price of here. So through some good negotiations, we got some really good pricing.
So we replaced everything that we needed to replace?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Okay.
Anthony, the full-time, the police full-time line, that's full-time salaries
Yes,
that have been saved because of reductions in personnel.
yes, there's a couple
And we
of.
don't
there's-
have to make that up with overtime from personnel that's there covering those
There
shifts?
are a couple of vacancies, and I've been assured there'll be that much money left over. I know your point.
What about the overtime account?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. They claim that they'll have enough to make it work.
I think they talked at the last police commission meeting, they were okay in the overtime account, that they
Right.
had not
And-
used
and
up.
talking with Chief
this much.
Lovelace, he anticipates this savings to be still there at the end of the year.
Anthony, what are AEDs?
Automatic external defibrillators, if you go to cardiac arrest.
That's what they are.
Ah.
Sorry,
So, I'm a little foggy.
The
Hey, the
finance
only dumb
director of
question's
the
the one
police commission.
Sorry?
We spent $85,000 so far to date out of overtime budget. We have $218,000 in it. Leaves us roughly $133,000 still to go. We did the math. The two rookies that are in the department come off for 2 weeks. They start on patrol. And we already advanced to move forward within another month to put a lateral in place of the sergeant that just retired. So there's plenty of money, and we're still in the positive, and we're below the monthly expense from now until the end of the year. Overtime's fine.
Just one, thank you. One more question about these vehicles. Is, the budget request was $120,000 for 3 vehicles. We approved $80,000 for 2.
correct.
We've now acquired a vehicle that was $48,000, now a second one that's $55,000, and I understand this is a specialized vehicle.
Correct.
So it may be one of a kind, or one of the entire police fleet.
Correct.
But what is our expectation going forward? Are we looking at vehicles that are gonna be in the range of $50,000 every time we replace a vehicle?
I think the reason is, if I'm correct, and I was at that police commission meeting, is because this particular vehicle can pull that SWAT trailer, and they need a larger vehicle to do that, and they need to be able to have a vehicle that can pull that trailer. That, I don't think this would happen a lot. I think
Right.
it's because they need at least one
This,
vehicle that
this
will do that.
vehicle's gonna be extended life vehicle, it's not
Yeah,
gonna be.
I get that, but the last vehicle, the first vehicle they bought was $48,756.
Right.
That's $49,000, $9,000 more than they projected for
Correct.
the
Right.
cost of the vehicle, and that we approved.
In the capital plan that we approved a couple motions ago, I have $47,000 a year in there to buy a vehicle. Talking with Chief Lovelace. So again, 47 should have been maybe 49 in retrospect, but again, only the current year is locked in, so we have the ability to, as we go into 19, 20, and so on, to amend those numbers. Maybe it should be 50 a year to give yourself, as prices increase, if you buy them one a year. I mean, historically, we were on a 3-2 cycle. Council was pretty religious, where we bought 3 cars one year and 2 the next year, and we had a really good pattern going on, and the cars that came down to here had some life in them still. We kind of got away with that for many years, and we got to some leasing and onesie, twosie kind of thing, and we need to have really a set pattern. It's kind of goes through the overall goal of that committee was to have a game plan. And if we get the game plan, to stick to the game plan, because it has a ripple effect down the road. So, again, in the CIP that you just approved, there's 47 a year in there every year to buy a car, but again, maybe it should be 50. And we could amend that now as we work on the 1920 budget.
So
But again-
by characterizing this as a specialty vehicle, does that mean it will not be deployed or will be less deployed for normal use?
That's a question, I don't have an answer to that question. That's up to the Police Commission and Chief Lovelace. I don't know the exact answer to that question. I would imagine it'd be more like, as
Yeah, sure.
Mike mentioned, more for special purposes to tow speed trailers and SWAT trailers, things like that, not for everyday patrol, but that's a question for Police Commission and Chief Lovelace. I don't know the answer to that.
There's a police commissioner with his hand up there, calling.
Thanks, it's a specialized vehicle for the DV. It's equipped with all the weapons for the 3 SWAT officers. Also equipped to take SWAT, the trailer, and equipped for emergency use. It's gonna be a DV department truck, but specialized. It's kind of like a one-off vehicle that's built. So it's gonna be used, but used for specific reasons. That's why it's so much money. And it wasn't worth trying to find a used vehicle with the money that we saved. We all started crunching, all the commissioners, including the intern chief, to save money. We were short $7,000 for a new one. It wasn't worth trying to purchase one that everybody already stripped all the accessories out of and tried to bandage it back together. It cost us more money. Because when we ran the stats, 82% of the vehicles that they're selling on these auction blocks cost more than 10 grand in repairs when they finally get them back to a police station. So our option for $7 grand, since we had the money already in our budget, if I'm not mistaken, there's $92,000 still left in our full-time pay budget that we didn't use. So the better option was to buy the newer vehicle that had a longevity for a long time.
Previously, we've been given a fairly detailed list of the condition of the fleet.
Yep.
So my curiosity is whether this provides any relief from the problems that were identified previously for the general fleet.
Yes, because Sean can use that during the day, which is our lieutenant,
Mhm.
head of the technical bureau. That vehicle can be used for multiple uses. His vehicle could then go back out onto the road for use. So it will alleviate quite a bit of problems and correct all our issues that we have. So it serves multiple functions.
Thank you for the explanation.
I just have one question that you may have already addressed to the commission. When we replace, let's say, a vehicle,
Yep.
the old vehicle that we're replacing, rather than like selling it or going to auction and getting the $300 or $500, would it be better used, like maybe on road jobs or, where an officer's doing a road job or something like that, rather than using a new vehicle or, you know what I mean?
That's a good question, because we worked with the chief of the fire department. We had 2 vehicles. One was an SUV and one was a regular Ford Crown Vic. They were in good condition. They needed some minor repairs. We had swapped them to give it to the fire department so they didn't have to replace 2 vehicles right away that they were in dire need for the fire marshal and who was the other one that needed it?
Deputy Fire Marshal.
Deputy fire marshal. They had no vehicles. They were down vehicles. So we actually put them to good use instead of selling for $500. We're getting our money out of it.
Right. I'm thinking for the PD, when there's a road job.
We have 3
So,
backups for
yeah.
that specific person that we,
Okay.
when we have the road jobs.
Yeah.
But we had 2 extra ones from the new ones we got, and we turned them over to the fire department, so they can use, they had 2 vehicles down, they couldn't even drive them, I don't even repair them, if I'm not mistaken, by him. So we actually used our funds and our resources to work with each other.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem.
I'd like to make a motion, be it hereby resolved that the North Branford Town Council approves the funding methodology detailed above for the purchase of a 2019 Ford Expedition for the North Branford Police Department, and further instructs the treasurer and finance director to make the necessary budget transfers.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mayor Duty,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni.
Yes.
Counselor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond.
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Rose,
Yes.
All right, next is financial report for November 30th, 2018.
Financial report remains very positive. Again, the numbers that we typically look at, the tax collection line, a couple ticks ahead of last year. Overall revenue, right about on target with last year. Expenditure side of the house, again, under last year. The one thing I want to just point out to you is the town attorney line. Comparison to last year, you'll notice that last year this time we were 67.2% expended and encumbered. This year we're at 85.7%. Some of the bills have come in. Granted, we had labor negotiations, which consumed a lot of that money, but just flag that in the back of your mind to keep an eye on the town attorney expenses going forward. Aside from that, the report remains unremarkable and very favorable still. We're wrapping up the 17-18 audit. We'll have that filed and with the state by the end of December. The new accounting firm we're using this year had some issues. Some of their folks were out sick, long-term illnesses that kind of delayed the process, but we are guaranteed we're going to have it in place to OPM by December 31st.
Mr.
Thank
Mayor?
you.
Mr. Mayor, just on that point, while it's fresh in everyone's mind, just to address the town attorney line item, just to point out that in this year you had, I believe it was 4 labor contract negotiations and the police commission, the chief issue back in June. Those were the reasons for the additional legal expense. The union contracts will not be an issue for another 4 years. In 3 to 4 years, depending on the contract. So you should see a reduction with respect to those issues. And since the chief issue has been settled, that should not be an issue going forward.
Thank you.
Just one question or two. Sorry. Is animal control?
Animal control.
99.9.
Yes. Animal control is it's same percentage as last year.
Yeah.
In talking with Jim Finch, the finance director from Branford, and I ran this by Mike, our current agreement with Branford allows them to bill us our prorated share of the expenses that they incur for animal control. Last year we had a pretty significant increase, and the reason was that they had a very robust summer program where they hire a lot of kids in the summertime. Have kids there, I should say. Summer, like a dog camp. But the kids pay tuition to go to the dog camp. We don't share in that. Our current agreement says we pay on expenses rather than the net cost of operating. So I'm working with Jim Finch, and we're going to get the pertinent section of the language to be changed to say we'll pay our percentage of the net cost of animal control, not just the expenses. So that if you do have revenue from these summer camp programs, they get a very robust program, but we don't share in that revenue. We didn't, I believe, last year, but this year we're going to be amending that. So that'll come before you guys probably, I imagine, February meeting to get that resolved, to change that language so that if we pay our percentage of the net cost animal control, not just the expenses.
So, I know they do a lot of fundraising.
Yeah.
And
They're being sneaky.
yeah, well, we have no way.
Well, we get the general ledger report at the end of the year that shows the expenditures, which is what the agreement calls for.
Right.
But
Maybe
in
that-
talking to Jim kind of off the cuff, he said, you're not getting the full benefit of that revenue we're deriving by charging these kids to go to dog camp.
Sure.
I don't know if that's the proper name for it, but some kind of camp
Right.
they have there. But, so we're gonna try to rewrite the language to show that we'll pay our percentage of the net cost of their operation, not just the expenses.
Right. Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is tax refunds.
I make a motion to approve the tax refunds as submitted.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mayor Judy?
Yes.
Sorry. Deputy Mayor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Candelara?
Yes.
Counselor Diamond?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Miller?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Next item is citizen statements and petitions.
Well, first of all, I want to compliment our new and improved town attorney.
Yeah, but he cost a lot more.
But he stays awake and you get more. I have to admit, it's been a real pleasure. This 944 Tucket has been a big part of my life for too long. This gentleman's come in, he's worked the situation, He comes back. He's back on a Wednesday morning. He'll change his schedule to fit into yours. He'll have a meeting. He conducts himself fairly and professionally, and he gets results. So if anybody has any problems with what it's costing you, look at the product you're getting. Because, and again, this will hopefully be the last time I have to say, the predecessor left a few holes that couldn't be filled. This gentleman stepped up. We're moving forward, and I want to appreciate it. Now, after sitting back here for a year,
Cliff, you
and
want to
watching
hold
you
it
guys.
down, he's going to be looking for a raise.
All right, let me see. I don't have any loose change. I'm sorry.
I haven't blown my budget yet.
Okay. So I had some thoughts. I said, 'twas the night before Christmas, and all through the town, some citizens are happy, some citizens still continue to frown. It was noted that all through the year, that the town was properly managed to quell any fear. Budgets came and budgets went, but our town council watched how each penny was spent. Bad weather came, and so did the storms, but the town crew remained vigilant and true to form. The police and fire departments performed to a T. They kept our town safe for both you and me. So Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, I must say. As for living in this town, I wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you.
Got big shoes to fill, John.
Yeah, I don't have a poem.
John Pollock, Police Chairman. I want to thank you guys for reappointing Victor and Dave and also Mr. Simmons onto the commission. The other thing I wanted to bring up is to think about getting ready with the contract for the new chief, because it looks like we're going to be able to start interviewing probably maybe in the middle of January, towards the end of January. So just want to keep that in mind so that we'll have something, to present.
Your firm can draw that up?
Yes.
I got one question. How long does it take for your firm to draft something for you?
I suspect we're not going to be reinventing the wheel.
No, we don't want to reinvent.
And nor will we. So if you give me a deadline, we will meet the deadline, as long as it's not tomorrow.
Okay.
So
Friday.
Yeah. Monday good?
I'll give it to, it'll be under your tree on Christmas Day.
Thank you.
Just one other question, just so, can we have 2 council members review that draft before we receive it? Preferably 2 that have.
I can circulate it among the council members in their entirety for their review and input.
Well, we have a lawyer, we have 2 ex-officers, I mean, we want some input, because it's gonna be. Mike, George, and Joe would be ideal for them to look at it. Right? And the deputy.
Well, we could get it to the whole council. I mean,
Yeah, if the whole council could just, so we could sit down and all review, because this decision's for the whole town, It's a big decision.
but it's coming out of Cohen and Wolf, so it's gonna be,
Yeah, but I just think if we all, you just agree to it,
Yep.
it's just a substantial, I don't even know, I'm being told that it's a tricky contract because it's never been tested if somebody doesn't want to leave, is that true?
You're
I don't think so, Victor.
No?
There have been plenty of police chief appointees on contract.
Okay.
And when the contract is over, then the contract is
Our
over.
concerns as commission, we want to make sure if we agree to give somebody 5 years, it's 5 years.
I don't think that's gonna be very challenging for
That's accurate.
the town
Yeah.
attorney.
Okay, thank you.
any other statements? Seeing none, executive session, there's nothing listed. Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second?
Third.
Everybody in favor? Anybody opposed?
Negative.
Okay, good.